If you're a man over 50, you've probably figured out by now that the damage we do to ourselves isn't always obvious or sudden. Most of the time it happens in small, repeated choices, in things we tolerate and things we avoid, and unless we call those things out, they'll eat away at the second half of life until there's not much of us left. Be sure to drop a comment and let me know if you can relate to any of these. Here are 8 habits that quietly destroy men after 50. 1. Still worrying what people think. Now, you'd think that by 50, we'd be past this, but most men still filter their choices through what others might think or say about them. You skip the solo road trip you've always wanted to take because your family doesn't get it. You don't speak up when your adult kids cross a boundary because you don't want to rock the boat. You keep showing up for the weekly dinner with people who drain you because it looks polite. Here's the reality. Most people aren't thinking about you. They're too busy worrying about their own lives. And even if they are judging you, so what? You're not a kid trying to win approval anymore. You're a grown man with limited time left. Live like it or risk dying with your life unlived. 2. Living by rules that were never yours. Somewhere along the way, you adopted a script. Maybe it was written by your parents, your church, your culture, or your younger self. Maybe you don't even know where it came from. The problem is you're still following that script even after it stopped making sense. You keep doing what you think you're supposed to, even when it doesn't fit who you are now. But there's no committee grading your life. There's no scoreboard. By 50, you've earned the right to rewrite the script. If you don't, you'll stay stuck in a life that doesn't belong to you. And if you don't question the script, don't be surprised when the ending doesn't feel like yours. 3. Avoiding hard conversations. It's easier to go quiet, to keep the peace, to pretend everything's fine. I get it. But every time you avoid saying what's real, you trade short-term comfort for long-term damage. I'm talking about telling your partner that the connection's gone cold and pretending isn't fixing it. Telling your adult kids it's time to stand on their own 2 feet, even if it makes you feel like the bad guy. Telling yourself the life you've built is safe, but not satisfying. These conversations feel uncomfortable because they matter. And one of the clearest signs of a life going numb is a man who hasn't had an uncomfortable conversation in years. 4. Refusing to let go. We all hang on to things longer than we should. Relationships, routines, titles, even versions of ourselves. Not because they're still serving us, but because we're afraid to admit they're not. Maybe you're still holding on to friendships that feel more like obligation than connection, still clinging to a career title that no longer inspires you, still chasing approval from people who no longer matter. This is the sunk cost fallacy in action, the idea that because you've spent years in something, you need to keep it going. But time spent doesn't justify time wasted. If something's draining you now, it doesn't matter how much it used to matter. What matters is whether it still fits who you are. If it doesn't, let it go. And if you're getting value from this so far, please support the channel by liking the video. Thank you. I do appreciate it. 5. Addiction to certainty. A lot of guys cross a line without realizing it. They go from valuing structure to being completely addicted to certainty. If they can't predict the outcome, they won't take the risk. If they can't see how it ends, they won't begin. They won't finally take that trip they've been talking about for 10 years because it feels uncertain. They won't start the business or project they've quietly dreamed about because they can't guarantee it'll work. It looks like caution, it sounds like logic, but really it's fear dressed up as responsibility. The problem is, almost everything meaningful in life lives on the other side of certainty. Reinvention, new relationships, new purpose, they all require the willingness to move before you have all the answers. If you only move when it's safe, you'll stay exactly where you are. 6. Hoarding instead of living. I'm talking about hoarding time, money, energy, like you're preparing for a version of life that never actually comes. And yes, it's smart to be responsible, but a lot of men confuse responsibility with stinginess, especially with themselves. So if you've worked hard and saved well and you still refuse to spend on things that would actually make your life better, freedom, help, travel, whatever it is, then what was the point? Generosity doesn't just apply to others. Sometimes it means finally being generous with your own life. 7, the empty retirement mindset. Retirement should be a beginning, not an end. But too many men see it as a chance to escape their life instead of to build a new one. They clear the calendar, sit down, and realize they have no idea who they are without work telling them what to do. The real problem isn't retirement, it's entering it with nothing meaningful to move toward. If you don't create something, purpose, contribution, exploration, connection, you risk becoming invisible to yourself. The second half of life can be the best part, but only if you're moving towards something that matters. 8, waiting for someday. And this one's simple and deadly. Someday you'll take that trip. Someday you'll call that friend. Someday you'll finally do that thing you've always wanted to do. But someday is the most dangerous day on the calendar. It doesn't exist. It never did. But you're not out of time yet. You are closer to the end than the beginning, though, as am I. And if something's on your heart, stop negotiating with time. Just start. Even small steps count. The second half of life isn't about playing it safe. It's about finally living in a way that feels honest and alive. And that's the list. And I'll leave you with this. You don't have to change everything overnight, but pick one thing from this list that hits you hardest and ask, what would it look like to stop tolerating it? Let me know if you can relate to any of these examples or if you have some of your own to add. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching.